All right, I'm back at it this morning. I've got the cab ready to be lifted up, but I've got to cut this floor a little further back because you see where the frame comes up. This floor I cut a little long so that I knew where this cab would end on it. And in a previous video, I determined that I was going to cut it here, and I was only going to have to go up a little bit to match the back of this cab. And so that's what I'm gonna do right now. I've already started. I've laid out a marker line right there, and the reason I'm cutting it low is, and I'm not very good at cutting on the line, I'm gonna cut it low. I'll probably relief cut it here, and then I'm gonna bend it up all the way down, and then that way when I set the cab on top, I can fold it, and hopefully I'll have to do more trimming, but I'll fold it up, and then when I lay the cab, hopefully it's long enough, which it should be. I've measured before I took it off last time, and hopefully that will. And I'll have to trim it in different spots, and then I'll have to work it more down here on the end. But that's the plan, anyways. And I'll have to probably do some relief cutting here because when it wants to bend, I'm gonna have to have it bend way up here, so I'll have to figure something out right there. But I think it'd be easier than cutting it up this high and then adding metal to go across to meet the cab, but who knows. But I know I need to cut this off so that it sits flush, because see right now it's hitting, this is where the frame goes up. And so when I cut it, you can see when I cut it, it will sit down. And then the other cab will be higher, and hopefully it'll sit on this mount, which I measured, and it looks like it's gonna work. So let me cut this piece off, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, got it finished cutting. And see, now it's sitting good. It's sitting a little bit still on the curved part, but it will have to come up. I think it may come up a little bit more. And those mounts, I'm just gonna have to measure, but the mounts might, they might have to come off. I don't know yet. I measured, and it looks like the holes will line up in the back of this cab. So, and that's why I kept them there. I wanted to see if they would, at least the back ones. That's what those holes are, not the drains, but that hole. I just think that the mounts are going to have to go either on the inside, or I just drill holes in that cab floor to match where these are at. But I still need to cut and bend that part up a little bit. And it's resting on this brace that runs just right there. That I've already got those staked with just a screwdriver. So yeah, I'm gonna really make some relief cuts and then start to bring this cab top on down. See where it lands. Hopefully it's good and don't cost too much more work. Okay, let me show you these cuts real quick. You can see what I did. I just made some relief cuts, and I'm sure I'll have to take something off there, but I know that will make it over that. And when I do, I'll bend it back down. If it don't work, it don't work. We'll just see how everything folds down once I get the cab over. This is my latest issue. I don't have the tractor, so I couldn't pull it over this. So I'm having to come along it over this hump for the lift. Is that thing? I couldn't push it. That motor's way too heavy. But hopefully there we go. Yeah. Now I can lower that down over that floor. I still got a strap going through the cab to hold it. But yeah, I'll push it up a little further, line it up, lower it with the lift as far as it'll go, because the lift wouldn't, these arms wouldn't go underneath it all the way. It's the way I had it squared up, and it just wouldn't have worked out. So I think this board is probably going to end up right around there. So I will lower it so far, push this forward, line it up, and then I'll cinch it up. I'll take up the slack with that chain, and then you know, get the lift out of the way, and we'll see what those relief cuts in that extra piece back there. See what kind of gaps we're looking at, and I'm going to save this because this is pretty. I mean, this is pretty flat, and you know, about 7 inches wide, so I can cut pieces out of that to fab up whatever I need to cover the back. And then I'm going to need to do some firewall work too, but we'll get it down and see what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to take a break for lunch, but I just wanted to show where I'm at. Right now you can't really tell, but the cab is leaning forward just a little bit, and it's because I didn't cut these. I guess it's a support, but you see it's sitting on the old mount, and that's where the mount for the old cab was. So yeah, they're off. What I did was I looked at those things, right? So actually I can probably take this off, drill a hole, or there may be a hole back there. Let me get a flathead. Let's see if there is one. Should be, I think. You can't see, but no, I think it just goes and it drains out. But I can actually drill a hole through that and use that, because see, all that is a hole through that. And then I can find a plug for that. So I can still use those Super Duty motor mount, cab mounts right here. Hopefully, I don't want to, I'm still going to have to make sure that the cab is, I guess, level. I really not sure. I'm not going to put actual level on it, but I can tell that it's not all the way down in the back yet. It's because of those mounts. But these relief cuts we made, if you know, this is going to be a little bit long, but get it to fold back down, I'll have to cut it a little bit more off, or maybe I can just fold it down, hammer it, and then weld it like that. I'll probably just do that. These are going to be too short, I think. Well, maybe those might work too. We'll just have to look at it. But what I wanted to show was, let me get a flashlight. See where I put that thing in. So we've got, of course, the mounts. We'll have to cut those off. Then the back can be lowered all the way, and we can just try to fit that. But first we want to fit all this. But what I did was I put this AC box in here, and I just, well, you can't really tell, but you get to see that zip tie. So I zip tied it up there because I didn't want to bolt it all up. So I just put it to where it'll fit. But you can see in here, that's all right. That's made it up. So we're right on line for the air conditioner duct, because it takes it in, and that's where it comes out through the top. And then it's hard to see way up in there is for the defrost, but of course we had to take ours out to fit the dash, but that's okay. But it looks like that's lining up good. What I did was I put screwdriver down in there. That's where the floor mount is, so that this floor I didn't want it shifting around, because I wanted it all to line up. And there was going to be a gap on this side, and I've already got a plan on how to fasten that, but it still needs to come down. And some of the gaps, there'll be gaps, and over here there's going to be a gap where the old AC was for the old Ford that I'll have to fill in. But it looks like that AC box is going to line up. I already knew this side was going to line up. It's just got to come down a little bit more on it. But if we look up under here, it's tough to see, but that's where the brake booster comes in through the wall. Well, maybe we go through here. Yeah, so you see, there's the holes. So you see right there, there's a hole up there, down there, and on the other side. They're all lining up. And then the one for the dash, it's lining up. So, and then of course this floor, I'll have to shift it over here a little bit this way, but the floor will line up. And then the main thing is filling the gaps in the back and on the front. But yeah, it looks like it's gonna work. That's probably the height it'll sit at, which is pretty tall. But this guy had a 3-inch lift on it, I think. He put the spacers in the back on it. And I bought all new stuff for it. New springs, factory spacers for the rear. Because what he did was or maybe it was the guy before him, they put the bigger blocks, but they left this factory size shock. So now you can see that shock's been overextended by 2 to 3 inches. And they're probably blown out. The shocks ain't probably no good. But that'll lower that back down, and then I'm taking this big old block out and the old springs and putting in new springs that are made for leveling kit, and then all new shocks, but that's gonna be later on. But I just wanted to show how everything is lining up. It's just gonna be a lot of fabrication, so I might post this video and then start on the fab stuff, and that might be a month or so. We just have to see. But I'll lower it all the way down, get everything to really line up, and then I'll shoot a final video. All right, I just wanted to look at something. I just did a mock-up, but I put the fender on, just hung it. Man, I hope I have clearance for that. Now that hood's a bubble. It's got a bubble hood on it, about 6 inches. It ought to work, because it's gonna line up with that. So yeah, it'll clear all that. But just wanted to hang this just to see what it looked like. It's gonna be pretty tall. I mean, the lift ain't really going away because I'm just replacing it with better stuff, so it'll still, you know, and the rims, I don't think the rims are gonna stay either, but yeah, it's looking just a little, it's looking good.